Hello, welcome to Pragmatic Training. In this short video, I'll show you how to use JMeter variables within test plans. Specific topics that we are going to cover in this video: creating variables, using user-defined variables, user parameters as JMeter functions, and within JMeter extractors like bound value extractor post-processor. And we discussed the scope of the JMeter variables, how to view the JMeter variables at runtime using debug sampler and debug post processor, and how to refer the variables within your test plan components such as samplers and other components. Please remember that JMeter variables are case sensitive. Ensure that you understand this while using JMeter variables. Also avoid using backslash before use the variable referencing. For example, you should use double slash or forward slash in that case, or you can use this one. The naming convention that we are suggesting for variable is use constant. For constant, use all caps, and use lower camel case such as username appear in this presentation slide for the other variables. So let's move into the practice. I have opened my JMeter already. Let's start adding a thread group and a simple sampler HTTP request and view result tree. Let me save this one test plan within my test plan directory. I have organized them into a proper directory structure as in other videos. Test plan underscore examples JMeter variables and save it. Let's see how to say you want to use say if you are accessing a particular site, and server name IP should be defined here over and over for each and every request, right? And rather than setting it in every request, you can define it in the test plan level like this host. So let's go to jmeter.apache.org and this request one access the home page, and you can define it here. Optional, you can define as a best practice add config element HTTP request default, and there you can request this host, so all the request will get access to the variables, and save and just validate and see whether it's working. Again, that request is going to this each and every request to the host. So if you want to do some other changes, access the release note page, then you define say /changes.html as I remember. So in that case you can go here, release note, and see changes.html. Likewise, you can use variables. So if there is any changes, what you have to do is do changes here, and all other samplers will get, or wherever the variable is used, this will get affected. So let's see another very unique feature in JMeter, where you can define the same variable over and over. Host, say if you have staging environment .apache.org, and then host, say dev. Just to demonstrate how it works, and say when you have multiple variables defined, say you want to switch from production this one to staging, what you can do is just bring it up, so in this, and you can move around, and variables are executed from top to bottom, and the last one is selected. In this case, the top one will get will be active for the test plan. So let's run and see. Clear control E to clean it, and let me validate, or I could run control R because it's obvious, because there is no server with this one. But let's see the request. It's going to the staging. So if you want to move into dev environment, you bring here control E and control R, and you can see it is going to dev. Likewise, you can change the switch from different host to using this feature available with JMeter. You can define the variables in this as well as in using config element user-defined variables. User-defined variable component is executed at first irrespective of the place you, right? Even if you place it here, they will be executed. So for example, if I add host test.jmeter.apache.org, in this case, even if I place it here, if I run here, host will go here, because whenever JMeter find new variable, new appearance, so that will, the previous value will be replaced with the newest one. So basically, test plan component will be executed first. The second one to execute will be the user-defined variable. Ensure that you understand this as well. For example, if I have another sampler with HTTP request and add listener view result tree, thread group 2 and thread group 1. So even though this user-defined variables inside this, the effect will be there for the thread group 2 as well, because that will be shared. Control E, control R. You can see the request going to so let me define it host, control E, control R, and you can see that variable is getting affected. So ensure that so if you want to share different variables, use different variable names rather than using same variable. So it's very important. Let me disable these two thread groups and add another thread group 3, and to demonstrate some more items. Let's add a DSSR sampler and listener like this. And if you want to add the variable at runtime, you can do this. Was dot put can be used to get the variables. like this. Say for example, if I want to say company name, comma, within double quotation, you can do it. Key value pair can be given, and the variable is defined at runtime, and also you can use dynamic value here, and you can use Java, Groovy, Java, or any other supported languages to create your value here. I'm not going to demonstrate that here over this video. And if you want to see the effect, say if you want to use in another sampler, say for example I just want to demonstrate in a dummy sampler, company name, let's run as Control E and Control R, and you can see that pragmatic is coming. Say also, say if you have this defined and the variable is not defined, you will get something like this, Control E, Control R, and you will see that variable itself will appear here. Also, if you want to see your variable names as samplers, you can add post processor, debug post processor. So this will show your variables. Also, say sampler properties can be taken, but in this video, since we are focusing on only variables, we will make this as true JMeter variables. In addition to that, you can see system variables, sampler properties, and JMeter properties. Okay, so let's run and see the effect. So you can see these variables. In addition to the variables that we are defined, these are the variables available to the user by default. Okay, these two we have defined, host and right. Also, there is another sampler called debug sampler. If you want to see the properties at particular point, you can get them using debug sampler at the runtime. Host. Also, as you have seen in some of our previous videos, the like if you are using say if you want to extract JMeter response and assign it into a variable, extract some value, say for example these response.error path expression and the value in there, so that can be assigned into a variable. When it comes to variables, it is only confined or associated with the threads, rather the virtual users, not shared among all the threads or thread groups. When it comes to properties, JMeter properties, they will be shared among all the thread groups and all the threads within a thread group. So it's very important things to note that JMeter variables are confined or associated with only the threads. So if you go to the previous one and say If you want to get more about the variables, I go to this one, and you can see the available. So these are the JMeter variables. You can use vars.get to get the variables, vars.put to set a variable, and vars.remove to remove existing variables from thread. Also, you can use object as well. So these are the this is the API documentation available with that. Going back to this one again, say if I want to get a debug sampler, and you can get more documentation about the debug sampler and debug post processor. So the only difference is it will display the sampler properties when it comes to post processor. In addition to that, the details will be within as a subsample. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thanks for watching.